these moves are going in college football at the Circa Sportsbook. Georgia State and Coastal Carolina. This one opened Coastal Carolina 4. It is now 7. Coastal Carolina is up to a 7-point favorite. The total opened 60.5 and is now 61. Go to Friday's action now, Wisconsin and Purdue. Wisconsin opened as a 4-point favorite on the road. They are now a 6-point favorite at Purdue. The total opened 54.5. It is now 53.5. NC State at Virginia. This one, that DraftKings look ahead was 9. Circa opened at 12. It was taken down to 10. The move to 10. NC State favored by 10. Jared Goff hit Khalif Raymond on a flea flicker for that touchdown to put the Lions up 14-7. Goff is 11 of 12 for 141 yards so far and 2 touchdowns. All right, Boise State and San Diego State. Look ahead line was 7. Boise State opened 8, and it's now 7. Total in that one opened Boise State 42.5. Total now 44. Oh, I'm sorry. NC State and Virginia. Total opened 47.5, down to 45.5. Buffalo Bills at the goal line here. Allen throws incomplete. The Raiders have stopped the Bills at the 1-yard line. Air Force opened a 4-point favorite at San Jose State. They are now a 3-point favorite. The total, Air Force and San Jose State opened 49.5. It's now 47.5. Let's go to action on Saturday now. Army and Syracuse. Syracuse opened a 9-point favorite. Let me see if I might keep this in rotation order, if you don't mind. Let's do that. Let's go in rotation order, if you don't mind. I'll give out the times. Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. Wake Forest opened an 8-point favorite. They're still an 8-point favorite at Circa. Total open 60.5. It's still 60.5. DraftKings has this game at 7. This game will be at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Miami of Florida and Temple. This one opened Miami of Florida 23. It's been bet up to minus 26. The total opened 49.5. No change. This one's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Army and Syracuse. Syracuse opened 9. It's now Syracuse minus 13. Total open 46.5. It's been bet up to 50. Texas Tech and West Virginia. Texas Tech opened a 3-point favorite. It's been bet up to 5. That look-ahead line was 2 and was eventually bet up to 3. Now it's Texas Tech 5. The total opened 55.5. It has been bet down to 54. That game is at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Virginia Tech and Marshall. Marshall opened a 9-point favorite. They're still a 9-point favorite. The total opened 44.5. They're down to 43. UAB and Georgia. Georgia opened a 37-point favorite, and that's where it stands. The total opened 48.5. It's been bet up to 51, UAB and Georgia. That game is at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Joey B, a little completion here. Bengals out of bounds, the 15-yard line as they try to capitalize here. Chargers at the 15-yard line of the Titans right now on a 2nd and 10, keeping the ball on the ground. New Mexico and UMass. UMass open a 1-point favorite. They're still a 1-point favorite. Total open 48.5. It is up to 51.5. That game's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Bengals here at the 9-yard line. 3rd down and 5. They can still get a first down here against Cincinnati for Joey. But he goes for the end zone. He's got himself. Oh, that's a great defensive play, man. Great defensive play because the ball was originally secured and then knocked away. Herbert, little fade pass. Incomplete. Chargers will be going for a field goal here, it looks like. Mississippi State and South Carolina. South Carolina open 4. It's still 4. Total open 44.5. It's up to 50. Boston College, that game at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Boston College and Louisville. Louisville opened 11. It's now 14. It was as high as 16 on the look-ahead line at DraftKings, and it's now 14. So maybe it could go higher. Total 55.5. Boston College and Louisville, no change. That game is at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Akron and Indiana. Indiana opened a 17-point favorite. They are now a 20-point favorite. The total opened 45.5, and that's where it stays. That game's at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Florida State and Clemson. Look-ahead lines have this one Florida State by 1.5, and then bet up to 2.5 on DraftKings last week. Currently, though, this line has opened at a pickup. Total open 52.5. It has been bet up to 55. Florida State and Clemson. Duke and Connecticut. Duke opened 23. It's still 23. The total opened 49.5. It's now 48. Duke and Connecticut. That game is at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Packers keeping it on the ground here, 2nd down. C.J. Stroud has the Texans inside the red zone here as well. Here, these rookie quarterbacks making me look bad here with this under, but Tennessee opened minus 13 against UTSA. They are now a 17-point favorite. This total opened 58.5. It is now 56.5. UTSA and Tennessee. This game's at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. North Carolina and Pittsburgh. This one had a look-ahead line of North Carolina 4. It was bet up to 5.5. Circa opened at 6. It's been bet down to 5. Maybe the action coming in on Pittsburgh here a little bit. Total open 50.5, and that's where it still is. Jordan Love just had an attempt in the end zone, but incomplete. Texans trying to get something done here in the red zone. BYU and Kansas. That look-ahead line was 7, bet up to 7.5. Circa opened at 7, bet up to 8. Total 55.5 at the opener, was bet up to 57.5. BYU and Kansas is at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Rutgers and Michigan. Michigan opened. Big discrepancy here if you have the access to it. Michigan opening 23.5 at Circa. They are bet up to 25. Packers extend their lead to 10-3 over the Falcons right now. C.J. Stroud is just overthrown a pass intended for the end zone receiver, Schultz. Right now, so Rutgers and Michigan open 23, bet up to 25. DraftKings opened it on the look ahead at 28.5, and it's currently 27.5. So look for something in there. Maybe it'll end up around 26 or so. Total open 45.5, and that's where it stays. Oklahoma and Cincinnati. Oklahoma opened minus 11 on the road. They are bet up to minus 13. The total opened 59.5. It is now bet up to 60.5. Georgia Southern and Ball State. In this one, Georgia Southern opened minus 6. They are now minus 7. The total in Georgia Southern and Ball State opened 55.5. It is bet up to 59. Rice in South Florida. This game opened a pick at Circa. It is now Rice -3. The total opened 54.5. It has been bet up to 56 in the Rice South Florida game. DK Metcalf returns to the game for Seattle. Chicago moving in close to the red zone here late in the first half with Justin Fields. He held on to the ball too long again and got sacked again. Get rid of the balls. I know they tell this guy week after week. Okay. Toledo opened 20. They're now 21.5. Total opened 54.5. Now 55.5. Lamar Jackson rushes for a first down before he gets hit hard out of bounds. In bounds, but near the boundary anyway, not a penalty or anything. Oklahoma State here against Iowa State. Iowa State opened 3. It's still 3. Total opened 35.5 is now 36. Minnesota at Northwestern. Minnesota opened an 11-point favorite. They're still an 11-point favorite. Total opened 41.5, now down to 39.5. We're approaching the 2-minute warning in many of these games. Chicago and Tampa Bay. The Bears have tied the game. 1:55 to go in the first half. It's 10-10. Chicago and Tampa Bay. Florida Atlantic and Illinois. In this one, Illinois opened a 13-point favorite. They're now a 13.5-point favorite. Total opened 49.5, one tick down to 49. Southern Miss and Arkansas State is at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. A lot of these are on time changes. I haven't been giving you a good update on that. Southern Mississippi and Arkansas State. Southern Miss opened a 6-point favorite. They are down to a 4-point favorite. The total opened 47.5. One tick up, call it 48. Southern Miss and Arkansas State. James Madison and Utah State. DraftKings has this one opening at 4.5 right now. Circa has this one opening at 2, but bet up to 3. I'll probably look for it to go to 4 if that's going to be the case. Total here opens 51.5. UCLA and Utah. DraftKings has this one at 5.5. Circa opened at Utah 7. It has been bet down all the way to 4.5, so let's call it 5 on a consensus line. Total open 54.5 is bet down to 51.5. UCLA and Utah is at 3:30 Eastern and 12:30 Pacific. Arizona and Stanford. Going to move at both sites right now. Looks like Anthony Richardson is done for the game. He has a concussion. The Colts lead 21-10, but bad news, man. 2 weeks in a row. Anthony Richardson injured. He got hit hard. He hit his head on the back, on the ground when he was tackled following a touchdown. So rough news there for Richardson. Arizona open an 8-point favorite. Call it 10 now at Circa against Stanford. Total open 62.5. Total now 60, down 2.5 points off that opener. USC at Arizona State. USC is a 30.5-point favorite on the opener. Bet up to 31. Total open 56.5. Bet up to 58.5. USC and Arizona State is at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Colorado and Oregon. Oregon opened on the look ahead as low as 16.5, but opened at Circa at 21, has been bet back down to 20. And that's where it stands right now, 19.5 at DraftKings. Total open 66.5, and it is now 70. My main stream has gone out. Let's cover lines while we do this. Washington and Cal. DraftKings opened a look ahead at 20.5. It's now 21 at DraftKings. However, Circa has opened this game Washington -22. The total opened 64.5. It is now 62. California and Washington is at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. Oregon State and Washington State. Circa opened this one at -2. They opened at 54.5 on the total, and it has been bet up to 56. Oregon State and Washington State is at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Ohio and Bowling Green. Ohio opened 10. It's still 10. Total open 49.5 has been bet down to 46.5. Maryland and Michigan State. Maryland open 4. It's now Maryland -6. Total open 56.5. It's been bet down to 52.5. Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Kentucky open -12. It's been bet up to -13.5. The total opened 50.5, and that's where it stays. Kentucky and Vanderbilt is at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. SMU and TCU. TCU opened 7. It is now TCU -6. The total opened 68.5 and has been bet down to 65.5. SMU and TCU is at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Baker doing some Baker things here. He might have drawn a penalty on a late hit. Louisiana Tech and Nebraska. Nebraska opened as a 22-point favorite. They've been bet down to a 20-point favorite. Total opened 50.5. It's now down to 49. Tulsa and Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois opened a 4-point favorite. They're still a 4-point favorite. Total opened 54.5. It's still 54.5. Tulsa and Northern Illinois is at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Memphis at Missouri. And in this one, Memphis and Missouri, here's some action here late in the first half of the Raiders in Buffalo. Anyways, Memphis and Missouri, this one opened Missouri -8, bet down to 6. This one's being played in St. Louis. The total here opened 52.5, and it has been bet down to 54.5. Central Florida and Kansas State, this is the biggest mover of the openers at Circa, so you be the judge. Did they just make a mistake? Kansas State opened an 8-point favorite. They're still an 8-point favorite. The total opened 48.5, and it has been bet up to 55.5 here in this one. Central Florida and Kansas State is at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Mississippi and Alabama. Alabama opened a 6-point favorite. They've been bet up to a 7-point favorite over Ole Miss. Total opened 52.5. It is now 53.5. Central Michigan and South Alabama. South Alabama opened a 15-point favorite. They're still a 15-point favorite. Total opened 48.5. It's been bet up to 51.5. Central Michigan and Alabama is at 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Pacific. Nevada and Texas State. Texas State opened a 14-point favorite. They were bet up to a 17-point favorite. The total opened 60.5. It's now 62. Nevada and Texas State is at 7 Eastern and 4 Pacific time. Texas and Baylor. This reminds me of the score phone days. Okay. Josh Allen just tried to throw to his tight end Kincaid in the end zone, but it was broken up. Also, the Buccaneers here in the red zone at this time. They're at the 12-yard line of the Bears, but he gets it away, but it's going to be out of the end zone, and looks like Tampa will try to kick a field goal here. Also, a field goal coming up here for Tennessee, and they'll trail 14-10 heading in to halftime with the Chargers. The Ravens are in the red zone here against Cincinnati in a tie game. Jackson pumps, finds his man back of the end zone. Oh, you know what? Andrews caught it, but a collision with his own player deflected the ball, but here comes a penalty holding on the Ravens. That play took too long to develop anyways. There had to be some holding there, right? The Bills have the ball at the 11-yard line of the Raiders, and Allen pressured, throws. What a pass by Josh Allen. He was about to go down. He sidearmed the pass to Shakir, and it was caught in right near the front of the end zone for a great touchdown by Josh Allen. We were critical, but this was the play. This is what you want from Josh. It was not exactly an easy pass. It was a dangerous pass, too. But what a pass by Josh Allen. And Baltimore way back here at the 23-yard line now of Cincinnati, 1st and 20. Jackson on a designed draw play, and he's rumbled all the way down to the 4-yard line. He almost got the first down. We do have a flag down. And it's holding on the Ravens again. We'll see where it was. I mean, spot foul, but Kansas City here. It's 3-0. I do have a premium play on the under here. 30 seconds go in the first half. Here's a touchdown in Kansas City, but we do have a penalty. Sky Moore has a penalty. There is a flag down. Did Sky Moore push off? Mahomes gives a celebration. If Mahomes thinks it's a touchdown, you know he hangs out with these referees. He knows exactly what's going on already. He's not going to go down there, I don't think. And it might be holding on the defense is what I'm thinking. Here comes the call on it. We're waiting. It is a touchdown. Also, Ritter trying to tie the game here for Atlanta, but he tried his own. He just pulled off his own Josh Allen play. Ritter just completed a sidearm pass to Drake London, and Drake London has a touchdown for Atlanta. Is going to tie this game up with 12 seconds to go in the first half. Big time action here in this in all these games at this point. Even the Colts are threatening to go in the end zone again with Minshew. He throws a completion inside the 5-yard line, and the Colts are on the door here. All right, man. Where were we? Great action here. Typical end of the half here. And Gardner Minshew's got a first down and goal. Minshew, he's got his man. Oh, God, did he get just short of the goal line? It looks like I would almost challenge it if I have it. I'm challenging. I think he might have stuck the ball right over the. Oh God, no, maybe not. Okay, but there's 7 seconds. Man, you almost got to challenge it there if you have it left. I don't know what's going on. So 11 seconds left for Lamar. He does a design keeper again. He takes a dive down to the 27. They're going to play for a field goal here. Texas and Baylor continuing on. Texas opened a 13-point favorite. They've been up to a 14-point favorite. DraftKings has it currently at 15. Total open 49.5. Bet up to 51.5. Texas and Baylor is at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Arkansas and LSU. LSU opened 17. It's now 18. The total opened 55.5. It's now 57. I'm not seeing your comments because I'm talking on one of the screen, so appreciate anybody who is saying anything about these lines or whatever's going on. Arkansas and LSU is at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. I'll get right back with you in just a moment here. Baltimore going for a field goal here. We're almost done with that original scan of these lines, and we'll go over them again. Western at halftime. Western Kentucky at Troy. Troy open 2. They're bet up to 3.5. Total open 56.5. It's now 57.5. Buffalo and Louisiana. Louisiana open a 9-point favorite. They're bet up to a 10-point favorite. Total open 54.5. It's now 58. Buffalo and Lafayette is at 7:30 Eastern and 4:30 Pacific. Auburn and Texas A&M. Tucker just made a 40-yard field goal, and the Ravens will lead at halftime 13-10. Oh. Okay, Auburn and Texas A&M. They're reviewing that game, that touchdown here with Indianapolis and Houston. I thought maybe just a very tip of the ball might win over, but it's inconclusive, I believe. It is a touchdown. It is a touchdown for Indianapolis, and they have 28 points with two different quarterbacks in the first half here on the Texans. Not only rookie Anthony Richardson, but also Gardner Minshew throws a touchdown pass. They did rush for one other touchdown with a back, but Auburn and A&M. A&M opened 6. It's now 7. DK opened at 8. It's now 7 at DK. Total opened 54.5. It's now 52.5. Auburn and A&M is at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Eastern Michigan at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State opened a 4-point favorite. They're now a 6-point favorite. Eastern Michigan opened 54.5. It's now 51. New Mexico State and Hawaii. Hawaii opened 3. It's now 2. New Mexico State and Hawaii opened with a total of 55.5. It is now 58.5. This game is at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Liberty and Florida International. Liberty opened minus 11. They're now a 13-point road favorite. The total in this one opened 59.5. This is the second biggest mover. It's down 6 points to 53.5. Liberty and Florida International. Charlotte and Florida. The Gators opened a 24-point favorite at Circa. Don't worry, it's now 27. DraftKings has it at 29.5. Get it while it's hot. Florida, big mover here early. Total open 49.5. Total now 51. Charlotte and Florida. Appalachian State and Wyoming. Wyoming open 3. It's been bet down to 1. DraftKings does have it at 2.5. Total open 41.5. It's now up to 43. Colorado State and Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee open 2. It's still 2. Total open 57.5. Bet down to 53.5. Boy, Trevor Lawrence just hit a. Ridley is back, folks. If he wasn't back last game, he's still back. He's back even more this week. Colorado State, Middle Tennessee State, that total dropped to 53.5, as we said. Sam Houston against Houston. Kind of the same thing, isn't it? Houston opened a 14-point favorite, bet down to 13, but I will say DraftKings currently looks like their line is 15. So we'll see if it goes back up to maybe falls around 14 at this point. Total open 38.5. Sam Houston and Houston, and it's still 38.5. Ohio State and Notre Dame. Ohio State open a 3-point favorite. The total, it's still a 3-point favorite. I will say there is a local book here in Las Vegas that may have it at 3.5, but looks like 3 at this point. Ohio State on the road, 3-0 against 4-0. Notre Dame and Ohio State open 51.5. It is now bet up to 53.5. That game's at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Iowa and Penn State. Penn State open 14. It's still 14. Total open 39. It's now 41.5. Open 39.5. It's now 41.5. UNLV and UTEP. UNLV opened a 4-point favorite. It's been bet down to 2.5. Total open 54.5. It's been bet down to 50.5. Kent State minus 55. Start over on this one. Kent State and Fresno State. Fresno State opened 23 at home. They're now 24 at Circa. It's all the way up to 25.5 at DraftKings. The total in Kent State and Fresno opened 55.5. It's now 51. All right. We're going to give another run through, let a little bit more movement happen. We'll see if anything goes back the other way.